Hello and welcome to the National Debate. I'm Madhavdas G. Viewers, the world is witnessing the dramatic fallout of the Middle East war. And at the moment, neither side has shown any hints of backing down. The war has crippled global trade and the impact is starting to be felt back home as well. Citizens are queuing up for LPG cylinders and hoteliers are facing the brunt as well, citing difficulty in sourcing commercial LPG cylinders. The opposition is questioning the centre, and Rahul Gandhi even claims that this is just an outcome of the government's compromise. The centre, on the other hand, has claimed that India is well stocked with critical supplies, but the priority remains domestic consumers. Opposition has meanwhile also questioned the centre's stand on the death of Iran's former supreme leader, Ali Khamenei. And that brings us to the big question on the national debate. Has the response of the central government been adequate and appropriate, and are opposition's concerns valid, or is there a bid to mislead the public? To talk about this, we have with us here in our studio Charu Pragya, spokesperson of the BJP, Dr. I.N.D.I.A Ranganathan, author, is with us, Abhijit Iyer Mitra is a senior fellow of the IPCS. We have with us Ashwini Kumar Mishra, leader of the Congress Party, Nivan Sharma is spokesperson of the I.N.D.I.A Party, Vivek Silas is spokesperson of Samajwadi Party, and Advocate Vikas Gupta is a political analyst joining us on the show. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us. Let's quickly go through the first talking point that we're going to be discussing today, and this is the challenge for India amidst the oil shock. The first challenge is that India imports 90% of its crude oil and 50% of its natural gas. The second challenge, that oil stocks are sufficient to cover only 20 to 25 days. So what happens if there's a prolonged conflict? High oil prices could slow the GDP growth to 6.6% and push inflation to 4.1%. The fourth challenge, India's current account deficit could widen to 1.9 to 2.2% of GDP next year. Challenge number 5, India's annual expenditure could rise by 3.6 trillion rupees next year. So this is as far as some of the challenges are concerned. All right, the first and the sixth challenge, fertilizer subsidies as well could go up. Now, this politics that's being seen as far as the LPG shortage is concerned, Akhilesh Yadav, Samajwadi Party chief, says LPG stands for Lapata gas. There's also Priyanka Chaturvedi of the Shiv Sena UBT who says that people suffering due to government's unpreparedness. Then there's Karthi Chidambaram, Congress Party member, who says that government must ensure that there is no black marketing. That's a concern being expressed by others as well. Kirti Azad of TMC says if there's no shortage, why has price been hiked? So this is, of course, some of the responses coming in from opposition political parties. What is the statement now coming in from other leaders of opposition? Now, Rahul Gandhi has gone ahead and linked the entire issue to Epstein files. He says that global oil flow via Strait of Hormuz is affected. Of course, that's a fact. He also goes on to say that restaurants are shutting, street vendors have been hit. And he also says, how can US decide who we buy our gas from? I've solved this puzzle. It's called compromise, is what Rahul Gandhi said in Parliament. And he goes on to add that it is due to the Epstein files that there is pressure on the government, even pointing out to Union Petroleum Minister. Now, what are the assurances that the government has given? The government says that India sources crude from 40 nations. Now, there's no shortage of petrol, fuel oil or jet fuel that's currently there. Third assurance is that there's no shortage of oil in our country, and also that India's crude supply position is secure at the moment. Also assuring that LNG cargoes are arriving via other routes as well. They also say that the strait is shut, but India is handling the situation and has diversified. Non-Hormuz sourcing has increased, is the seventh assurance coming in. LPG production has increased by 28% as well. And they say that refineries have been asked to maximize LPG utilization, as well as the fact that this is not the moment for fear-mongering. Let's quickly, in fact, take this across to our guests. And let me start first and foremost with Ashwini Mishra. Ashwini Mishra, the question that many are asking is, of course, this is a moment of crisis, but it's not a moment of crisis only for India. The whole world is reeling under this entire fuel crisis. It is a moment of war, and the way in which the war is spread is unprecedented. But the fact is that if you're looking to, raise these issues, that is one aspect. But linking it to Epstein files, saying that there is huge shortage, is that really correct at this point of time? The government says that's not the case, factually speaking. Your response?
Madhav, thank you that at least you acknowledge that this is the moment of crisis and our country is having crisis, because BJP is totally saying that there's no shortage of fuel, there's no shortage of oil, there's no shortage of LPG. However, I have a letter
said that in a statement in Parliament yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. But
I have a letter from Tejasvi Surya written to Petroleum Minister, which says that request for ensuring the supply of LPG to restaurant hospitality sector. So crisis is there, and the scale of crisis is huge. आपके जो बाहर चाय बेचता था 10 रुपए की अब 20 रुपए की चाय कर दी है। हमारे यहाँ बॉइल्ड एग वाले ने बॉइल्ड एग बेचना बंद कर दिया बिकॉज दे आर गेटिंग सिलेंडर एट कॉस्ट ऑफ 3200 to 4000 rupees, which they used to get around 1000 to 1200 rupees. So one problem is that we are debating the scale of crisis. What is the scale of crisis? What government is doing to handle that? Bigger question is, why do we have this crisis on the first place? That is what Rahul Gandhi ji wanted to discuss in parliament. The crisis is there because Modi ji जाकर के इजराइल में इजराइल की बीन पे नागिन डांस कर रहे थे. He chose to side with America. He chose to side with America and Israel. He chose to side with America.
One second, just one by second. One by one. वो इजराइल गए. Prime Minister went to Israel. Your point is factually taken over there. But what is this question of compromising with Israel? Would you expect that the Prime Minister would be told by Bibi Netanyahu that tomorrow I'm going to attack Iran? You want the Prime Minister to have had that conversation, and do you think that's how diplomacy operates?
You think Modi was not aware that Iran is going to Israel is going to attack the Iran?
That he was aware?
Why will he go to a country which is about to attack another country in next 24 hours?
How do you know that?
And that
how do you know that?
Let me finish my point.
Okay, one second. I will answer that question. How do you know war is going to break out? One second, please. One second. How do you know war is going to break out? And the very next day or 2 days later there's going to be a strike?
See, it's not about whether war is going to break out or not. It is about which side Modi ji is when war is happening.
24 hours
you just said you would know. How do you know he did not know?
Let me make my point, then you will understand. There is a complete logic to it. Modi ji ने 2017 में it's an Epstein file that Epstein file it is written that when Khamenei visited India, the Israel and US were not happy and they called Modi ji to Israel, and it was written that Modi ji danced on the tunes of America and Israel. He was called again just before the war broke out.
Okay.
So don't you understand the chronology into it?
Abhijit, this argument I don't think has held up, but nevertheless, Abhijit, the fact is that Epstein files refer to a certain compromise. This is charge, and therefore this is also part of that same compromise. That's the allegation. Respond.
First, we don't know what the compromise was about because the Epstein file doesn't say that. But here is the problem. We're discussing a serious issue in public interest, and they immediately reduce it to Nagin dance, Epstein and everything because they have nothing to actually talk about in this. Let us be clear. What Hardeep Puri said was 100% accurate, but what Priyanka Chaturvedi and Karti Chidambaram said is also accurate. See, we need to understand the supplies. If you look at the supply chain, it is perfectly in order, both oil and LPG. What is the problem? The government has always been terrible at PR and messaging, unfortunately. You look since statistics started out here, British famines, whatever, it has always been a problem of supplying. Now, in cases of panic like this, and the panic, by the way, Madhav, started off on day 2. 28th is when the bombing started. By the second morning, WhatsApp groups are saying, oh, there's going to be shortage, there's going to be shortage. You induce a panic. What happens is, do you know that even the Bengal famine and things like that, there was no shortage of grain. The shortage was people actually finding out there was a shortage and supplying it out there. This is exactly what you're looking at now. There is now a hoarding situation. Instead of controlling the hoarding situation, you have topped prices to stop hoarding. And yet in your 6th standard civics books, you learn that when you top prices like this, when you impose price controls or price floors and things like that, there will be black market. So we are now going into a very deadly black market spiral. This is a failure of market control. This is a failure of economics. This is not a failure of
petrol. Is it of the government or of the opposition? Are they
this is a messaging failure exacerbated by them, creating panic.
Okay, respond. Okay, quick response.
20 seconds. First of all, in cylinder distribution, you need to give an empty cylinder to कि कोई जाके 20 सिलेंडर खरीद ले और मार्केट में कियोस क्रिएट कर दे कि हम 20 सिलेंडर ले आए बिना खाली 20 सिलेंडर दिए हुए
My question, please. Ashwini, simple question I'm asking you. You're absolutely right. There's a DAC number that's given. Only on the basis of that a cylinder can be allotted. But the very fact that people are crowding the gas agencies is because of fear mongering is the charge coming from here.
Okay.
Respond to that.
I have a number here जिस पे आप कॉल करके सिलेंडर बुक कर सकते हो इंडियन ऑयल का. इसको डायल करके चेक कर लेते हैं कि ये नंबर लग भी रहा है कि नहीं लग रहा है.
Not from here.
No, why not? This is the official number given by the government. This is the official number given by the government.
I don't know what number you're dialing. Let's not do this. You can record it and come back.
आप देखिए ना.
You can record.
आप लगा लीजिए आनंद जी.
And come back, Ashwini. We'll play this separately. Let's not try and waste time of our viewers. But one by one.
This is not the waste of time. This is the harsh reality. The numbers government is issuing to handle the situation is not working.
Madhav, you know and I know that in this country, if you grease the palms of the gas delivery boy, you can get 2-3 cylinders extra. Everybody's done it for shadi or function at home. Everybody knows how this works. So please don't tell me that it is only when it is empty you'll get
black marketing is happening.
That is what black market.
Black market. Okay, one by one. The debate has just started. Everybody needs to at least make the opening statement.
Logical, no?
You've spoken twice. Be little patient now. Question to Nivan. Nivan, the question is that if there is black marketing happening, who is responsible for it? Is it the government or is it the opposition which is making a big hype of this? Because government says that only commercial LPG supply is impacted, domestic is not. Your response?
There is a crisis in the country right now. We all know it. The bigger crisis is that the government is not ready to accept that there is a crisis. This is a bigger crisis which is going to affect us more than many other countries that are facing the similar kind of a crisis. Number one. Number two, you were talking about assurance by the petroleum minister. I want to pick 3 assurance and I want specific answers from the BJP spokesperson on those assurance, because those assurance are just in the air and have no specific amount, quantity or country's name. Assurance number 1, he is saying that we are going to increase the production by 28% in 5 days. He has said that. I want to ask them, if you could increase the production by 28% in 5 days, then why were you importing on 50 to 60% higher price earlier? If you have the capacity to increase the production within 5 days, let me complete. I have 3 questions. Question number 1, you give me logical answer, I'll believe you. Question number 2, you are saying that you are going to import excess 40% from new sources. Name those sources, give the exact quantity, and when entire world, most of these...
Let Charu answer those 2 points. You have those 2 very important points. Let Charu answer them. But before Charu comes in, I want to ask you, you're saying on facts. You're saying the government is not admitting it's a crisis. I'm quoting verbatim what Hardeep Puri told the parliament. The world has not faced a moment like this in modern energy history. 13 days since the passage through Strait of Hormuz, through which 20% of world's crude, 20% of world's natural gas and 20% of world's LPG flows was disrupted following military operation between Iran, Israel and US. How is this not accepting that there is a crisis?
But further he is saying that India is not going to face these crises because we have increased the production by 28%.
Is the government in denial? Charu, can you answer that? Is the government in denial? He says the government is in denial about the crisis. Respond.
And those 2 questions also.
On a very serious note, there is a global crisis. India is not the only country that's impacted. But what is India doing? It is making sure we are prepared. We are putting our absolute best step forward because our energy security cannot be on the line. We cannot control what's happening in other countries, but we can control our response to it. And to both these opposition spokespersons, first thing I want to say is, do you remember what happened in 2012? When there were sanctions on Iran, how did India cope? What was your solution then? You did not have a solution. You allowed our country to suffer, and it will do you well to not forget it. Today, I think our biggest strength is diversification. 40 countries are supplying to India. In spite of all the disruptions that are happening, we have secured safe passage for our ships. We are making sure that LPG production is going up. The biggest problem, you know what is the biggest problem today?
Is that an official statement of the government? That
yes,
we have secured
a answer. What is the official statement of 2012?
No, because government gave a different statement today. Government gave a different statement.
Answer that question first.
Ashwini, you've spoken.
She says, what did you do in 2012? Did you compromise India's interest?
She is telling that we have ensured a safe passage straight up.
Yes,
almost.
So 2 ships have crossed.
Is that a government official stand? Because government gave a different statement today.
1 second. Can I come in?
Have
Can I
ships not
finish,
crossed the
please?
Strait of Hormuz? Are you saying ships have not crossed the Strait of Hormuz? What are you saying?
That is something government has to tell. I don't have my own personal satellite.
Exactly.
No, because government gave a different statement today. Government of India gave a different statement today.
There are diplomatic considerations also at play. Let her make a statement. As BJP spokesperson, let her make her opening statement.
You know, there are enough disruptions in the world. Don't add to the din. Be constructive at least for once. The situation in India currently is hoarding, rumor mongering, and spreading panic led by these people. Where did the complaints start coming from? State of Karnataka. Who's in power in the state of Karnataka? Which state followed? The state that followed was West Bengal. Recently, 55 full cylinders of LPG were recovered from the home of Abdul Rahman, a close aide of Akhilesh Yadav. Who are all these people, Madhav? And I'm asking the viewers, what is the opposition's job when there is a time of crisis our country is facing, not created by our country? Okay. Is it spreading rumor and creating panic or standing by the government?
Yeah, quick response. Since Akhilesh Yadav's name has been taken, I want Samajwadi Party to respond. Opposition also has to play a constructive role. It's not just on the government or the treasury benches. Respond.
You know, Madhav, we initiated our debate. You started with, you also asked that how did our Prime Minister know that the war is going to break up? That is a very valid and a very important question, you know. But you will see the Foreign Minister, Mr. S. J. Shankar, on 14th of January 2026, he issued a notice to the people living in Iran as well as the Middle East. For Iran, he said that Indians living in Iran should evacuate immediately. And people living in the other Middle East countries should be very, very cautious. That means somewhere down the line, the Foreign Minister knew that the war can break any time. But it's so surprising and, you know, it's so incredible that Jaishankar knew about it, but our Honorable Prime Minister did not know about it. That is something very strange.
He's saying the war is going to break out the very next day.
This statement was given on 14th of January.
Which date did the war break out, sir? Which date did the war break out?
It was, I think, 28th of Feb.
And which date was the notice?
14th of Jan 2026.
So in that 1.5 months period, did any attack happen?
No. You're not understanding what I'm saying.
I'm just asking you a simple question. How is the
government lacks foresightedness? They knew it can break any time.
They had it in 2012.
He's made a point. I want Dr. Nathan to please respond. He's not yet made his comment. The government issued not one, but at least 2 notices to Indian citizens based in Iran. He says that is coming in from the Ministry of External Affairs. The government of India should have known, therefore, that there is a risk of war, and therefore the Prime Minister also was aware of that risk when he went to Israel. Your response?
Look, the tragedy of this country is that this country and everyone who loves this country needs to ask critical questions to the government and put the government in the dock. We must. But the role of the opposition is being played by us common Indians. It's not being played by, unfortunately, the people who are there in the opposition. I can ask 5 questions to my dear friend Charu and the BJP. She won't be able to answer it. And these are critical questions. But the point is, why isn't the opposition asking those questions?
Sir, I asked 2 questions.
Now, I did.
I asked 2 questions. How are they going to produce 28% of the excess production in 28% in 5 days? Number 1. 40 new sources that you are saying that we are going to procure new.
The government has given details.
There are no details, sir. There are no details, sir.
Okay, there are no details.
One BJP is here. BJP will answer 28%.
Charu Pragya can answer those questions. Charu Pragya, that question for you, but let Dr. Nathan first complete.
If you could produce 28%
it is his opening
in
comment.
5 days, why were you importing on higher price?
You made your point. This is the second time you are making a point.
Waiting for answer.
Allow others to make a first opening comment at least. Dr. Nathan.
No, and you know, I know you are...
Because you mentioned it, so I had to say I'm not...
It's okay, now you made your point. Enough, now please.
You know, I know you are tall, handsome, fair and with a beard. You are the 4th Ayatollah. You look like 4th Ayatollah, but that doesn't mean you take my time. Now please listen to me. Yes, the 5th Ayatollah is right here with me. Look, what are the questions that the government needs to answer? Number 1, there has to be a systematic way by which the government actually sincerely gets together with 2 or 3 opposition leaders, has a closed door meeting, they come out and state the facts. The opposition leaders must state the facts. And what are the facts? Just give me a minute, because this is very important. Yes, prices have increased, but prices increasing is not a correlation with creating a panic that the amount of LPG is now less. The fake news that's been spread by Congress since yesterday, and I heard this from the Congress saying, हमारे पास जो reserves हैं, वो सिर्फ 2 दिन के, हमारी storage capacity LPG will last only 2 days. That is underground storage capacity. Our overall LPG storage capacity is going to last us 30 days. Nobody is telling you this. To answer Mr. Sharma, America has already promised to give us 1 million metric tons of LPG release immediately. Number 4, there is a question. This is where I ask the questions from the government. We have 330 million households. They say their priority is domestic LPG. The question is, the commercial LPG, there is obviously a shortage because the National Restaurant Association of India is saying that in the next 2 days, 60% of the restaurants are going to close down. Now I ask you, in the deep down urban semi-rural areas of India, where millions of households are there, do they know what is commercial LPG, what is domestic LPG? उन्होंने ये खबर सुनी कि कल सारे जो है 60% इंडिया के रेस्टोरेंट्स बंद होने वाले हैं, वो पैनिक करेंगे, वो सोचेंगे हमारे को भी LPG नहीं मिलेगी.
So the messaging has failed.
Yes, the messaging has failed.
And here the made by both Abhijit and Dr. Ranganathan. And Charu, you should answer this because he's saying, firstly, which are these 40 countries? A, you can give him those details, and B, has the government failed in reaching out to the common man not to panic? A message of calm, a message of reassurance should have been given out. Answer that question.
So the kind of news which is coming out, is it a common man who's found hoarding, or it is leaders, people closely linked to opposition? It is people linked to the opposition. Now they are saying, why did you not amp up production of LPG?
The common man is also standing in line. You see those pictures outside LPG
Yeah, but who's
agencies.
created that panic? Where is that panic coming from? See, the honest truth is that messaging will come from both sides, right? The government and the opposition. The government is saying one thing, but this fear psychosis that the opposition constantly works on, it is so easy. They actually attack on that particular bit and they make the situation all the more volatile. There is no problem. The fact is that when the Essential Commodities Act has been provoked, the focus is going to on making sure that households have sufficient energy, sufficient LPG. That is one thing. The second thing is, when we are talking about our reserves, whether it is 70 plus days today or our strategic petroleum reserves, or in fact upping the LPG production capacity in India, it has all been done systematically,
now,
and this is not some magical thing that happened in one second.
Anand
ji, allow me to say this also. No, one more thing. One more thing.
This is
the
where
kind
the
of questions Ivan was asking.
Okay, one moment.
This is where the messaging is disastrous. Number one, as I repeat again, when she says that is wrong news, there has been no action taken, and a big body like I.N.D.I.A saying 60% restaurant closed down is obviously going to spread panic amongst the domestic consumers as well, because they can't make the distinction between commercial and number two, it is not a question of Prime Minister coming out at 8 p.m. and saying do not panic. In a situation where you know panic is should not be created, it is the opposition that should be brought out by the Prime Minister.
Yeah. Okay, and look at these
His voice holds more credence.
Story. The rationing that's happening in several restaurants. The fact that several of our restaurants have actually switched to coal fire. All right, Abhijit, on the point of Iran, I want you to respond to him. Has the messaging on Iran failed? Were we a little late in picking up that messaging? Respond to him.
Not at all. Why? Because 28th, the Israelis attacked Iran. What happened on the 1st? Iran started attacking Indian population centers in the Gulf. How are we then meant to criticize Israel for it? So where is diplomacy failed? We were upset with Iran. Of course we were upset with Iran. You throw Dubai is the cleanest Indian city on earth. It is not Mumbai. It is the cleanest and most prosperous Indian city on earth. तुम उसको attack करोगे, you want us to then commiserate with the people attacking it. This is like saying we should have commiserated with Pakistan for attacking us during Operation Sindoor. I am sorry. This is a very shallow understanding of diplomacy, number one. Number two is Sharma Ji's question. Why have you increased it to 28%? You are not compensating for shortage, you are compensating for hoarding. The issue again is supply is cyclic. He's saying, why are you buying from 40 countries? Bhai, this isn't like तुम्हारा stock है, तुम उसको खत्म करोगे. वो stock को भी, you have to keep replenishing the stock. Third, I want to point out, this is the same thing that happened during COVID, and it was very surprisingly, if you remember in Delhi, when all of us had shortage of oxygen, there was one Congress leader who, surprisingly youth Congress leader, who had unlimited supply of oxygen and made a whole social media tamasha of supplying it to everybody in Delhi. Fourth, Sharma ji asked about a war prognosis. You see, war prognosis isn't like BB doesn't call up Modi and say, Modi, you know, on the 24th of June, I'm going to attack exactly here. That isn't how it happens. You read the whatever is there, you come up with an intelligent assessment, you come up with a time frame and a period. Now they are saying on one hand, BB tipped off Modi.
Okay.
On the other hand, he was tipped off and he didn't prepare for the gas situation. What are we kidding?
Okay, so answer that. Either he was prepared or he was not prepared. You know, it can't be both.
Madhav, I hope
20%
the
in Mumbai
country never gets an opposition like them, because they are clearly not going to question the...
Like them means you're talking about the Congress or you're talking about the BJP?
Both of them.
Okay.
They are brilliant political analysts, but they are weakest opposition ever seen in past 2 minutes.
They're not. They're supporting the ruling
They
party.
said that we are acting like opposition.
वो अपनी राजपाल
He said we are acting like opposition.
Okay. Make your point. Make your point.
I'm making my point.
Let's not make personal.
I'm making my point.
Please.
I'm making my point. My question was not that why are you increasing 28%. My question is that you cannot increase 28%. It is not possible.
How? Why?
It
If you could.
is totally possible.
It's a
Okay.
LPG process.
Okay.
And it's a
All right.
byproduct.
If you could. If it is so easy. One second. Let me just keep my point. Let me just keep my point. Mal, this is not done. This is not done.
What is your argument? I'm not able to
I'm
understand.
saying if it is so easy to increase the production by 28%, then why were you importing on double price? Because when you make here in India, you have to do with the price.
My God, no,
I have no.
Nivan, do you understand how it works?
Explain this.
Do you understand how it works?
I'm
One is
saying
importing.
if you want to
One is
increase your
importing.
production by even 5%, if you want to increase your production by even 5%, you need at
You know
least
the
1
production
year's
cycle.
time.
Nivan, do you understand the production cycle?
You do not.
One second. Nivan, one second. Simple question. Nivan, do you understand the production cycle when it comes to petroleum products? Do you understand the production cycle?
I do. I've read about it
How
and
is it
I've
happening?
spoken to some experts also on this.
Okay.
And they tell me you can read about it. You can just go on Google and read about it.
what is the
If
figure?
you want to
Okay.
increase the production by 5 to 10%, you need at
Okay.
least 1
How
year
many-
and
okay.
proper facility.
Great.
It is
So
technically
Nivan,
not
answer my
possible,
question.
sir.
Then how many hours a day do these refineries work?
I am saying,
One second.
I am
How many hours a
saying
day do these
the
refineries
government
work?
has to
One
answer
second.
this. I am raising the question.
Answer
The
my
government
question.
has to
How many
answer
hours a
this.
day do these refineries
I am
work?
saying
Since
ask
you've read in
them
depth,
how
since
many
you've read in depth
refineries
about
are
this,
going
first
to
calm down,
add
Nivan, and answer
to
the
add on
question.
to 28%.
First calm down and answer the
Sir,
question.
I am not in power.
You're not
they
in power,
have to answer.
but you're the expert.
I am raising a question that
Exactly,
people are
so I'm
asking.
asking you a
How are
question.
you going to increase 28%? Answer
By
me.
increasing the working of
Tell
that
me
particular plant.
technically how is it possible?
How does production increase?
If you
How does production
how many
increase?
refineries are you going to add?
Okay. अभी तक सो रहे हो।
Okay, one second.
अवेलेबल है तो अभी तक
All right. Calm down. Abhijit.
वेट कर रहे हो।
11 साल से
All right, I want Abhijit to answer the question. Calm down. Abhijit.
I can't hear myself.
एकदम से हो जाएगा।
Abhijit.
आप 11 साल से महंगा क्यों खरीद रहे हो?
Please calm down. If you want answers, calm down.
They don't seem to understand the difference between increasing installed capacity and making currently installed capacity work at its
Stop fooling
maximum.
people.
Currently, you
What
work
Bhavi
at-
Puri
No,
said,
one second.
I
One second.
He's
He's
answering
answering your
your
question.
question.
Calm down.
Starts
Otherwise,
yelling.
we cannot have a debate like this. Calm down. Yeah.
Okay, now when you have current capacity, even current capacity is not optimized at its full because you want to save the life, engines, they can give thrust at 56,000 RPM, 90,000 RPM, whatever. You never drive your car at maximum speed. No? You drive it, refineries are like that. They never overextend themselves. Then what you do when you want to increase production is you increase the work hours. All refineries have work hours. You increase the work hours, you increase the
अभी
output.
तक सो रहे थे। वेट कर रहे थे कि क्राइसिस हो।
Now it is अभी तक सो रहे हैं। आप टाइम अभी तक सो रहे हैं। They don't lie. Because you don't have food contribution. They lie.
Mr.
आप
Ashok
दुनिया में बेवकूफ बना रहे हो। किस एक्सपर्ट से बात
अगर
कर रहे हो?
One second.
Name the expert.
One second.
Name the
अगर
expert.
government-
Name the expert. You
Tell me where are you getting your
Which
facts from?
expert? Which expert?
Where are you getting your facts from? Where are you getting RPM fact? Where are you getting it from? No, where are you getting your facts
Kejriwal is an
from?
expert on anything.
Where are your facts from?
Kejriwal is an
That's how
expert on
fact-
corruption.
you give. One second.
I'll call it Kejriwal. I'll call it Kejriwal.
Nivan Sharma, first of all,
Kejriwal.
there is a certain way in which every industry functions. I think what he's talking is basic common sense about any industry would work. If an industry is working 24 hours a day, you heard of industries that always work.
This is not
Just like
logical.
politicians like you work 24 hours during elections.
28%
That's
So you are saying
question to Mr. Mishra.
There was
One
a
second.
under-
One second. Gentlemen, don't do this. Otherwise, we're wasting the viewers' time. Mr. Mishra, the simple question to you is this. If the government is not providing LPG, you find fault for them? I can agree with that. The government finds a way to increase LPG production. That is also wrong according to you. इतनी देर क्या कर रहे थे? That is a problem.
Our problem is about government lying to the people. हर बार झूठ बोलते हैं मोदी जी के, अगर आप झूठ के लाइन लगा दूंगा ना मैं तो 200 पॉइंट निकल आएंगे।
क्या झूठ है? Okay, let's take your argument at face value. What is the झूठ? What is the झूठ? What is the झूठ? Tell us.
पहला झूठ ये है कि आप बोल रहे हो कि प्रोडक्शन कैपेसिटी बढ़ा देंगे जो पॉसिबल नहीं हो। अगर पॉसिबल था, अगर पॉसिबल था तो आप किसका वेट कर रहे थे? जनता लाइन में लगी हुई है, अभी तक सो रहे थे क्या? अभी नींद से जाग रहे हैं कि प्रोडक्शन बढ़ाना है? नहीं, फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन माधव, the most important question is, Madhav, the most important question which we are shying away and asking is accountability.
Calm down. One moment.
Madhav,
Finish your
accountability.
30 seconds, finish your point.
Something.
Accountability of government is not about reacting to the situation. Accountability of government is not just limited to.
There is a war, and you want the government to not react to the situation. Are you serious?
Madhav, let me finish my statement. Accountability of government is not limited to reacting to the situation. It's responsibility of government to prevent it. This government has failed to prevent it. Now they are telling हम react करके ये कर देंगे, वो कर देंगे. Prevent नहीं कर पाए और react करके
Okay, enough. Ashwin, enough. Dr. Nathan, no one else, please. Please, 1 second, no one else. Coming to you as well, Dr. Nathan.
So, yeah, I mean,
Too much.
Madhav, can I please? Now, my good friend Mr. Sharma, when he talks about LPG is wrong, he has misunderstood it, and he is talking about hot air, for which Kejriwal has the thing. You can increase 25% hot air because it's very good at production. Now, what Abhijit is saying is absolutely right. Not just that he's right, government has already done it. You know why? It has diverted propane and butane and other petrochemical things that used to go into the pool for other purposes. I give.
No. This is the kind of. This is not correct. Ashwin, this is not correct.
Even know
we want to have a serious discussion.
Is
answer on your time. Yeah, respond.
Okay, so there is a pool of petrochemical, you can say byproducts that can be used for LPG or not.
Yeah.
So the government has given a directive to the refineries to use it for producing LPG.
Correct.
आप किसी को क्या fact check है भाई जरा बताना.
What is the fact check?
All right. So this is a national newspaper का ये report है. I'll give it to you. You can read it and you can publish it. It says India produces about 35 to 40% of its LPG needs domestically.
Yes.
Increasing domestic production by 28% would require refinery expansion or new gas processing capacity, which takes months to years, not days.
भाई ये कर लिया है.
If you could,
मतलब
okay, Dr.
if you don't want to agree, you would not.
Okay, one second, Dr. Nathan.
Now, when he's quoting,
Please, we'll debate.
let me also. This has been done. The government has issued directives to oil refineries and petrochemical companies, including Indian Oil Corp, Hindustan Petroleum Corp, Bharat Petroleum, to maximize LPG output by diverting, diverting hydrocarbon streams such as propane, butane, propylene and butenes from petrochemical feedstock or other industrial uses into the LPG pool.
Okay.
They are not producing new.
I'll just add a line.
Is that clear, Madhav?
Further in the article, they say typical production changes. In the oil and gas industry, short-term increase possible is maximum 2 to 5%, and medium-term increase month to years 10 to 30% through new plants or refinery upgrades.
The government is
How many new plants you are getting up?
One second, heard your question.
On an English program to not know the difference between production, processing, bottling and supply. With all due respect.
I understand.
With all due respect.
I understand. I'm going to send you the...
And this is a newspaper that he would like, the Hindu.
What have they said?
I like all the newspapers.
No, especially. India's LPG production up by 25%.
You have a problem with Hindu?
Up, past tense.
Okay.
Ji.
They have a problem with Hindu? They have a problem with Hindu?
One second, let's not divert the issue, please. That's not the issue.
Let's simplify it for everyone watching. LPG ना किसी फैक्ट्री में नहीं बनती है. It is a part of refinery operations that are already happening for crude oil. So when that refining happens of crude oil, there could be multiple kinds of byproducts. One of them being LPG, and the production of LPG has been increased. That's the first thing. The second thing, this is actually not being done overnight as being trying to project by the AAP spokesperson. This has been happening systemically since the last decade plus, because in 2014, what was the LPG LPG cover in our country? Barely 55%. So to meet our domestic requirements, anyways it has gone up. So today, all the rumor mongering that they still continue to do is exactly in line with what they did during COVID. Whether it was medicine, whether it was oxygen, all that hoarding that went on, all of that they did to make people suffer just to score a political brownie point, they are doing a repeat of that. It's deja vu.
Okay, let's quickly look at some other points related to this particular debate. In fact, we've taken very long. All right, and this is what the government has said. One second, please calm down, ladies and gentlemen. This is what the opposition is saying in relation to the government's response to the killing of Khamenei. The External Affairs Minister silent on Khamenei killing is what Jairam Ramesh says. He says the Khamenei, the parliament is yet to have an orbit reference for Khamenei as well. He also goes on to say Raisi death mourned by the Modi government, and of course he also adds that why is there hesitancy to mourn Khamenei? That's the question coming in from Jairam Ramesh. India has condemned Iran's attacks as well, is what is being stated by Congress leader Jairam Ramesh. 10 plus ships have been attacked in Hormuz. There's the Safe Sea Vishnu, a crude oil tanker, a US flag tanker. There's a Zephyros. There is Mayuri Nari, the Thai flag ship that was struck as well. There's also Star Gwyneth, a bulk carrier, one Majesty, a container ship that has been struck, and therefore taking out ships currently from the Strait of Hormuz is hugely challenging because of the kind of military power that Iran has or wields in this particular region. The fact is that ships part of India-linked supply chain have been moved out. At least 2 of them have come out. And there's also, of course, they've tracked the transiting of the Strait of Hormuz. Pushpak and Parimal are the ships which are India bound currently, and they should be here in a few days. It's also a fact that this movement has happened after the External Affairs Minister spoke to Iran's Foreign Minister as well. Ships that have passed through Hormuz is not just, of course, the Shenlong Suez Max, a Liberian flag tanker. It's an Indian captain over there, 29-member crew. The fact is that it has docked at the Mumbai port. It also has a cargo of 135,335, that's 135,000 odd metric tons of Saudi crude oil, and has docked in. Now, this is Pushpak, which is an India-managed tanker. It's managed by an Indian company, and possibly the cargoes of asphalt or bitumen used for road construction location is from the Oman Gulf. There's also Parimal, another India-managed tanker, which possibly has oil or cargo of chemicals crucial for India's energy sector. Location here is the Oman Gulf. And let me bring in Vikas on this. Vikas, of course, it's a huge challenge. Of course, it's a fact that 28 Indian vessels are still stuck there. But the fact that this movement happened after India has spoken to Iran, you may come around and say Iran has denied it to international media, but there is plausible deniability. And Iran has come out and said, without our permission, no ship will move from the Persian Gulf. Yet, India has managed to get 2 ships out. You have to give credit where it's due.
Oh yes, Madhav. This is the biggest energy crisis in the last 75 years, undoubtedly. We are going to face challenges as far as fertilizers are concerned because they are the byproducts of the petroleum oil. What at this point in time, rather, what needs to be done and what is being suggested to the government is also that the confidence building, they come out openly and ask even the people of this country that you have to sacrifice for 5 days, 7 days, 10 days. We've done it in past, we'll do it now also. Madhav, most important thing is you have to come out in open, you have to be honest with the countrymen, you have to tell them that what are the difficulties. If today millions of people go without food on the streets because they don't cook at home.
Now look at the panic.
It's not panic.
The government is talking about 70 days plus of reserves.
Do you allow me? I'm saying
when that takes out.
Who is without
that's the problem.
Who is without food?
I don't know, Madhav. I'm talking about the ones who eat outside where food is not cooked at home. I'm talking about those people. If they go without...
He says there's a huge demographic of people. Those who are transporters, one second, listen to me. Listen to his point. He says those who are transporters, truck drivers, etc. in the gig economy, those who are dependent on these restaurants, they don't have access to food because of a huge reduction of commercial gas.
That's what I'm talking about.
Respond to him.
And Madhav, see, in all seriousness and responsibility, I want to say this. Sir is a learned lawyer. He is a very intelligent person who understands the reality of our country and the world. And yet, what does he do? He creates panic here. While he understands that there is no need.
But you're saying restaurants are not shut down.
No, one second, let me finish.
Reduce their menus, they've curtailed their menus drastically across the country.
I'm coming to that. I am coming to that.
One second, please. It's my question. I haven't asked you to speak. It's her turn to speak. Let us speak.
Because, you know, some things need to be above your little political pot shots. The fact is, when the government openly says that we have sufficient sufficient reserves for 70 plus days. Why is he not focusing on that? Preemptively, he wants the government to create a panic-like situation because he wants that to happen. It suits his political narrative. Far from the truth, and who knows what's going to happen in 70
But
days,
let me ask
Madhav?
you, Charu
Did we
Pragya,
know 15 days
it's
back
also a
this is
fact,
going to happen
it's
today?
also a fact that
we don't
28
know what's
ships,
happening.
One second, it's also a fact
We
that
are
28
dependent
ships,
on
listen to my
geopolitical
question, listen to my
situations.
question,
We
the
have no
28
part
ships
in.
are stuck
We are
in the
reactive
Gulf.
here.
Madam, 28 ships are stuck over there.
Yes.
You've taken out 2.
Yes.
What's the guarantee that Iran will allow for all 28 to be removed?
guarantee?
They'll lose their leverage in that
No,
region.
not at all. They are not even leveraging Indian ships, and that is exactly what a diplomatic win is. This is exactly what India has achieved.
But it's
2
taken
ships
12 days
coming
to
out.
get that. It's taken 12 days for 2 ships. So how long will it take for the rest to come out?
1 second.
Okay.
It's very important we address this because he's brought up dhabas and things like that. Do you know only 1 in 5 food establishments in India are registered and get commercial gas? The rest of them, 4/5 of them, get their home gas or illegal gas.
Okay.
That is how it
Or
works.
wood
This
fire.
is the this is wait.
He's saying
This is
all illegal thing going on in
this
the
is the
country.
2019 survey of the National Restaurant Association of India.
Google. Okay.
2019. हाँ Google. हाँ Google किसका है? Google.
Okay,
But National Restaurant, it is citing the source. Unlike him, who has still not been able
Okay,
to
so
give
Vivek
you his
Saraswat,
quack
Vivek to
experts.
respond to that,
So
Vivek.
1 second, Madhav, no, I haven't finished. 1 second. Unlike his
Quick.
quack experts, who he still hasn't named. Second, this is not the biggest oil crisis in 75. Wrong again. Factually incorrect. The biggest oil crisis we had was the 1973 oil embargo, which was an artificial shortage. Since then, every oil and gas shortage has evened out within 15 to 20 days by itself. The market has self-corrected. So wrong again. It was the 73 oil embargo which was directly responsible for the social consequences that led to the emergency.
Gentlemen, we're completely out of time. We'll have to wrap it up there. Charu Pragya, Dr. Anand Ragnathan, Abhijit Iyer Mitra, Ashwini Kumar Mishra, Nivan Sharma, Vivek Silas, Advocate Vikas Gupta. I'd like to thank all of you for joining us on this edition of the National Debate.